I'm going to start with Frankfurt and Napoli. Uh, Obviously, Liverpool Madrid is the headliner, but let's get this Frankfurt Napoli match out of the way first. Frankfurt's plus 240 at home, Napoli plus 110 on the road. The draw is plus 260. Napoli's lost 2 matches in Serie A and the Champions League all season. If you combine their records, 25 wins, 2 draws. That's maybe more impressive than anything, is that they've only drawn two matches and 2 losses. So 22-2 in Serie A and the Champions League. I kind of want to bet Frankfurt to advance here. Everybody's going to be on Napoli. This number's, I think, only going in one direction. And I think it just comes down to one of these big favorites is going to lose, and I'll take the kind of young, inexperienced European team here to maybe be that team going up against the defending Europa League champions, who, by the way, Frankfurt's having a decent season in Bundesliga. They're 6th. Expected numbers say they should be around 5th or 6th. I know you guys are going to talk me out of it, but I think that's where I'd be looking. Anthony, is there a path to success here for the Germans?
I think the only way you can really make a case for Frankfurt here is if you think that Napoli is overrated, because their schedule, like we kind of don't know about Italy. How good is Italy as a league? Because we all love Roma. And they had an okay performance in the Europa League last week. They lost at Salzburg. I thought they were the better team, but like they played Roma about even on 2 separate occasions. They lost to Inter in their worst game of the season at Inter, where they created less than half of an expected goal. They have, without a doubt, trucked a lot of bad Serie A teams. They've been dominant in Serie A, but if you think about the league, the mid-table and the lower part of Serie A have probably never been this bad. There's just no money. A lot of the good talent in Serie A is getting swept up by mid-level teams in the Premier League, the Bundesliga, and La Liga. Like, they're not selling up their own food chain to the Juventuses of the world and the Romas even. So, like, how good is the top of Serie A is kind of the biggest question with Napoli, because they had that incredible showing against Liverpool at home in the first match of the Champions League. And as impressive as that was, like, we have to remember, what we thought of Liverpool then versus what we think of them now. Like, Napoli was like perfectly built to take apart every flaw that Liverpool has in transition defense, especially. I think that was like the coming out party. But like at some point, we do have to respect the underlying numbers. I've lost money fading this team on multiple occasions, against Roma a couple times, against Sassuolo last weekend. They have some of them. They have a lot of depth, but like Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen have like both had breakout star campaigns at the same exact time, and so like their ceiling is really high. They could win this whole tournament. I agree they're a little bit overvalued in the market, like week to week.
Mm-hmm.
But Frankfurt, I mean, I rail against them every week. Our soccer editor, Avery Zimmerman, was joking about it. He's like, DeBundo, do you want this game? Like, I know you're just going to, hate on Frankfurt, who, again, had a pretty meh performance over the weekend. Like, I just don't know that Frankfurt's the team I want to bet against them with.
It's a fair point. I guess it's almost one of those situations where before the draw, and even like kind of in the weeks that we've had off, I'm like, I kind of just want to bet against Napoli in the Champions League, because you just see so much love for them, whether it's in the betting market or just on soccer Twitter every weekend when they're pacing teams at Serie A and Osimhen's going off, and I'm like, this eventually is going to get to a point where they're either going to win the Champions League or you're going to be able to make money going against them. We do see a shock or two every in these first 2 knockout rounds, around a 16 and quarterfinals last year. We saw Villarreal beat Bayern Munich, I believe, in the quarterfinals, which was something nobody really saw coming. So this is not that, obviously. That was a much more profound thing, I would say. But yeah, it would be a play on just Napoli being overrated. We'll see. It's a tough environment to go to, of course, as well. Like, I don't know. BJ, what are your thoughts?
I'm getting closer and closer to playing Napoli here, but I'm going to need a better number. Like I'm going to need plus 125 or better. So I do project them at plus 103. So I am projecting a little bit of value. Anthony mentioned with Frankfurt. I mean, they're overperforming offensively in the Bundesliga, which is not a surprise because they did that last season too. 28 goals from open play off of 21.4 expected, 8 set piece goals off of 5.4 expected. And what's interesting about Frankfurt is if you look at a lot of their data points, they're a very interesting team because they can play a blend of two different styles. So their build-up attacks to direct attacks per Opta is about the same. It's 32 direct attacks, 34 build-up attacks. But I went through and looked when they played teams where they weren't able to hold 50% possession. They have a minus 3.2 expected goal differential in those matches, and they better be prepared to not have a lot of possession in this match because Napoli is one of the most possession dominant teams across Europe. But to Anthony's point, how good is Serie A? Is Napoli going to be able to hold that much possession against a team like Frankfurt, especially on the road? And the Frankfurt offense, it's essentially just built on creating big scoring chances, right? I mean, they're averaging 11.2 shots per 90. That's 15th in the Bundesliga, but they're 5th in non-penalty expected goals, averaging about 1.5 per 90. Napoli's allowed 10 big scoring chances all season long in Serie A. And Napoli, obviously, you mentioned Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia. They are combined 1.58 XG plus expected assists per 90 minutes. Like, that is an incredible duo. That's an incredible form. Now, Frankfurt is a very difficult place to go and play, right? They have incredible fans, plus 8.2 expected goal differential at home this season. But Napoli has been just as good away from home as they have been at home, plus 11.2 expected goal differential away from home in Serie A and plus 12.1 at home. So if Napoli gets to plus 125, I have to play them purely from a projection edge. 538 does have Napoli at 50%. So I will take Napoli if it gets to plus 125. I don't know if we're going to get there. There's a plus 120 out there right now. I just keep staring at it. I can't hit it right now. So hopefully it gets to plus 125, but we'll see. But yeah, I don't know if this is the time to necessarily fade Napoli. I think when they have to go up against one of these bigger sides who's going to control a lot of possession, I think that'll be the time to fade them.
Frankfurt finished with a negative expected goal difference in like a bad Champions League group, a group of teams that we all were like, these teams all kind of stink.
By Tottenham.
Yeah, Spurs were in that group, Marseille and Sporting Lisbon. And the other thing is when we think of Frankfurt, you think of like the pressing. And I do think that's a good point. Like Napoli, 61% possession in Serie A. Like they are a field tilt domination beast. You can't just let Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen walk into your penalty area. And Frankfurt's pressing numbers in Germany aren't that good. They're kind of middle of the road and passes allowed, pass completion percentage allowed. They were average in the Champions League group matches. So their back line, man, it could get really, really exposed here. I wish they gotten a different opponent. Any team that wasn't unbelievably overinflated in the market right now. And I would have loved to fade Frankfurt, but yeah, this is a tough one. This is the hardest match, I think, of all 8 in the round of 16 that I've gone back and forth on a lot. And I will have a full preview for this. I'm going to kind of break down both sides of the matchup and kind of
take a long walk and
take a long walk and eventually settle on something. Might even hit the prop market or something because getting to a side or a total here is just really tough. It will be interesting to see though, Napoli getting tested outside of Italy, because if you look at it, they did concede over 1 expected goal to Ajax in both meetings. They did concede 2 to Atalanta, over 1 to Juventus, even though they destroyed Juventus the other way. And that was Juventus is a team who just doesn't press. It's if you don't press this team, you will get destroyed. So we'll see. It'll be fun. Could be a good match. But I've got no bet as of now.
Yeah, they pumped that really good Rangers team too in the Champions League.
Yeah,
well, that's the thing. That group went from being the group of death to
right. And okay, so if you look at it, Napoli, the second meeting against Liverpool meant nothing, and they got pumped in that one. That's the only match that you can look at and you can say they were completely outplayed and beaten this season. Other than that,
and they didn't really even.
You talked about the 2 draws. Yeah. They were in the first month of the year.
Yeah.
In Serie A, they've won every Serie A match since October except for the loss to Inter. Which Inter, I thought, did a really good job pressing them and just kind of taking Kvaratskhelia out of it. I don't think Frankfurt's nearly as good on the back line defensively.
If you're playing Frankfurt, you're just kind of banking on this number being
if you're going to play Frankfurt, wait until match time.
Wait
until match time because this number's. I'm guessing if
Yeah.
Napoli puts a
I
full
think-
strength lineup out there, it's going to close at probably
Every Twitter
money.
capper in the world is going to be on Napoli money line.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
on
Like,
That's why
Tuesday.
that's why I'm trying to get plus 125, and I don't think I'm going to get it. So I'm probably just going to end up passing and just waiting and just see what happens.